Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Music Impossible. Professor Jim here. Today, we're going to work on our key signatures, and we spent some time earlier in the semester looking at key signatures for major keys. And we're going to expand that a little bit to the relative minors of those majors and make sure we understand the relationship for a key signature. For example, C major is related to A minor, and understanding there's no sharps and flats all the way through all of the flats and all of the sharps. You have a fairly big worksheet assignment coming up after this lesson where you'll have to fill out the scale degree number, scale degree name, and solfege for each type of scale we've learned to this point, which includes the major scale and all three minors. After that, there'll be some worksheets and quizzes that will ask you to do some multi-step work where we might say, please tell me the sixth scale degree of a melodic minor scale ascending in E minor. And you'll have to write out an E minor scale and identify the sixth scale degree and then tell us what the number is, the name is, and the solfege is for that. And so there'll be a fairly complex set of work coming up. This will be the last thing you have to do this week, and then you'll have a couple of days off. So you have a few days to finish this exercise, and lots of writing, lots of busy work. You're welcome to handwrite this or use a software like Sibelius to execute this exercise. And then, of course, we'll give you the right answers, the answer key, after you're done. All right, we're going to switch over here to the circle of fifths. I feel like this is one of the best visual representations of being able to identify relative majors and minors. Right here, we have A minor is relative to C major, right? So they share the no sharps and no flats. And this is really something, memorization is going to be super important. I really want everyone to be able to say, B minor and D major share the key signature. So if you're used to identifying key signatures in the major key, and say you might have been tested on this in the past. Hey, what's the key signature for E flat major? Oh, that's three flats. Can you, as quickly as that, identify that it's also C minor right here? So if we have C minor, we also have to know that it's E flat and the other way around. If I were to come to you and say, hey, the key of E major, what's its relative minor? You should very quickly be able to tell me C sharp minor. Now, the way that I've been able to do this in the past is just understanding intervals. And we haven't studied intervals yet in this class, but one way to look at it is in the key of G right here, for example, we have one sharp, and that's F sharp. And all I do is go down two steps in the G major scale, and there I am at the relative minor. So G, F sharp, E. E is two steps down. It's also the sixth scale degree. You might remember that from a prior lesson. So if you can go two steps down the G major scale or go up six steps, takes a little bit longer, then you can quickly identify the relative minor to the major. So now we're going to come over here and look at our sharps first. And we might remember the order of sharps: F, C, G, D, A, E, and B. A, E, and B. F, C, G, D, A, E, B. And then every time we go to the next key signature, we're going up 5 notes. C, D, E, F, G, G, A, B, C, D. And you can continue to count up from D, and you'd go up 5 and you get to A, and then E. So this is the key of E major. Here we have the key of B major. We're going to go up another perfect fifth to F sharp major. And then finally, we have C sharp major. Now, what are the relative minors for these? You can go back. You can use the circle of fifths diagram that we had in this lesson. You can use this, take a screenshot of it, whatever you need to do to help you with your exercise. When you do that big assignment coming up, I want you to look at the lesson. This is not a memory exercise. This is more about just repetition and seeing it visually again, writing it, memorizing it, just trying to start to commit some of these things to memory. So the relative minor to C is A minor. And we're going to, generally, we represent major in a capital letter. And minor we can represent in a couple different ways. A capital letter with a small m next to it like that. You can also sometimes just do a lowercase letter. I prefer this here, E minor, and then we have B minor. And as we go down, remember, we're just going down 2 scale degrees. Here we have F sharp minor. And then here, what do we got? We have C sharp minor here. We're going to go down 2 scale degrees here to G sharp minor. We're going to go down 2 scale degrees here to D sharp minor. And then down 2 scale degrees here to A sharp minor. Now, very rarely will you see C sharp major or A sharp minor. Oftentimes, the enharmonic of C sharp major is going to be D flat minor, which is only 5 flats. It's a little bit easier to read 5 flats than it is to read 7 sharps, where just every note is sharped. And so this is a very rarity here, trying to work in C sharp major or A sharp minor. Now let's do the same activity with our flats. So we're going to have the key of C, we're going to have the key of F, the key of B flat, the key of E flat, we have A flat, and then D flat. That's what I was talking about. Remember, it's enharmonic with C sharp. So if I was to play in the key of C sharp or the key of D flat, they're the same pitches in these, just a little bit easier to read 5 flats. And then after D flat, we have the key of G flat. And then finally, this really, really strange one right here, we have the key of C flat major. And just like it's enharmonic counterpoint from D flat to C sharp, C flat also has a counterpart with B major here. They are also enharmonic and quite a bit easier to read in B major than C flat minor, but there it is. And then just like the other, all of these have their corresponding relative minors. We already learned about A minor. And then here we go. We have D minor and G minor here, G minor. And E flat minor's relative minor is C minor. A flat is going to be F minor. D flat is going to be B flat minor. I love that key. G flat to E flat minor. And finally, really weird, C flat. We have A flat minor there. So spend some time this week taking a look at the relative minor and major key signatures. Make sure we're starting to memorize those as best we can. And fairly complicated worksheet coming up this week. I'm going to give you several days to finish that before we dive into the next lesson to make sure we are 100% up to speed on that. Again, I'll recommend flashcards. Flashcards are a great way to go. There's some really cool ones on Amazon for less than $10 that have a number of features to them, number of terminology and time signature pieces and identifying notes. If you grew up playing clarinet, you don't know bass clef very well. And if you grew up playing like trombone, you haven't really spent a lot of time with treble clef. So make sure that we're learning the notes, learning the key signatures, everything springboards off of this knowledge going forward. All right, good luck with those exercises, and we'll see you next time.